The buzzer beaters, the crowd, the Cinderellas. College basketball is a beautiful game filled with the highest of highs and the lowest of lows. The start of every season brings a fresh start for every team and every player. A chance for teams to fold under the burden of their expectations. A chance for teams to receive redemption for a previous season that was cut shorter than they had hoped. And of course, a chance for teams and players expected to do nothing to shock the world. This channel will be dedicated to discussing and analyzing all that goes on in the college basketball world. Welcome to the CBB Report. With the season still in its early stages, let's go through each conference and rank the teams. Today, let's do our too early 2022-2023 rankings for one of the deepest conferences in college basketball, the ACC. While I love ranking teams, I do not believe it provides a clear picture for the competition levels between teams. The difference between a team I rank 7 and a team I rank 8 can be extremely marginal, and both teams can probably flip-flop on my rankings. The same thing goes for 3 and 4, 5 and 6, and etc. etc. That is why I've created a tier list to show off different levels of competition. In the ACC, I've created 5 tiers, the 5th being the lowest and the 1st being the highest. Today, let's rank Tier 2, which I've named Talented, but Tier 2 is my biggest tier and could honestly be split in 2. That said, the series has only been 5 tiers, so I have to be consistent, and these 4 teams are all pretty similar. All these teams are super talented, and only a little less talented than the Tier 1 teams. Despite this, there are some flaws that are holding them back, and that is why they are in Tier 2. My last team in Tier 2, talent, and the 7th best team in the ACC is Florida State. Now, disclaimer. I wrote this 3 games into the college basketball season, and while Florida State was 0-3 at the time of writing, I thought they would bounce back more than they did, and going back, I probably wouldn't have Florida State in my Tier 2, I'd probably put them more Tier 4, but I want to show some honesty and integrity towards my preseason rankings. Right now, things look horrible for Florida State, to put it lightly. They're 3-9, they look lost on both the defensive and offensive ends of the court. Though they've looked a little better in recent games, only losing to number 1 seed Purdue by 10, number 2 seed Virginia by 5, beating Louisville, which is a very bad team in their own right, and beating USC Upstate by 17. So they're getting a little bit back on track, but the horrible start to the season still lingers. While a horrible start to the season still lingers, I still think they're going to improve as the season moves along. This is because head coach Leonard Hamilton is still a great coach, and they should be returning key player Baba Miller from his ridiculous suspension somewhat soon. Once Miller returns, he has a real chance of breaking out and propelling the Seminoles team with him. The team is still very injured though, as both Jalen Gainey and Deontay Green will most likely not play this year. Florida State returns key players in Caleb Mills, their leading scorer from last year, Jalen Worley, who I thought really could break out, but has started off pretty slow this year, and isn't even in the starting lineup. The team really needs Worley to be a stable and scoring guard, and while I believe he can get back on track, there's no doubt he's had a slow start. Matthew Cleveland also returns, and he has been slightly disappointing to start the season as well. I expected him to break out onto the scene and be the star on this team. He has been pretty good so far, but has fallen short of stardom. Hamilton needs the best out of Cleveland and Worley for the Seminoles to turn the season around. And I think they will somewhat turn the season around, at least to get into Tier 3, or as I'm predicting them here, the bottom of Tier 2. While Hamilton had a good recruiting class, many are projects, and I do not expect many of the 4-star, 3-star recruits to get much playing time throughout the season. In the transfer portal, Darren Green was a solid transfer out of UCF, and is the only healthy transfer left. Green has been getting starting time over Worley in the early parts of the season. The starting 5 should be Caleb Mills, Darren Green or Jalen Worley later in the season, Matthew Cleveland, Baba Miller after a 16-game suspension, now it is Cameron Fletcher, and Naheem McLeod. This should be a very talented starting 5, but for whatever reason they cannot put it together right now. If they cannot figure it out soon, this ranking is probably already looking very foolish. The bench should be Cam Fletcher once Baba Miller returns, Cameron Corhan, Jalen Worley for now, Tom House, and Chandler Jackson, and maybe Jeremiah Bembry. The bench is deep and strong with a lot of young talent that could potentially break out. Right now though, nobody's breaking out and Florida State is deep in the dumps. I think a top 5 finish in the ACC is not happening for this team anymore, but I still think they could turn it somewhat around and sneak into Tier 2 with a 10-10 record and be the 7th best team in the ACC. The 6th best team in the ACC and around the middle of Tier 2, talent, but is Notre Dame. You could argue this is the one team that does not fit the talented but description. This is a well-coached, all-around solid team, but I do not think they have the top-end talent to break into Tier 1. They've started the season pretty good, with losses to Marquette, an upset loss to Syracuse, and an upset loss to St. Bonaventure, but they also got the upset win over Michigan State. Out of all of the ACC teams, I am the most confident that Notre Dame will end up in 6th. They do not have the talent to be higher, but they're also solid players and a solid team, so I do not see this team busting. The Fighting Irish are losing 2 key players from last year's March Madness team in Blake Wesley and Paul Atkinson. But head coach Mike Brey had a really good recruiting class. He got 5-star combo guard JJ Starling, the 21st ranked recruit in the entire country, and the program's highest ever recruit. Starling was a huge get for Brey, and though Wesley was great for the Fighting Irish, I don't think I'm crazy to say that Starling probably will be better. Brey also got high 4-star power forward Van Allen Lubin. Lubin is an underrated recruit and can immediately contribute for Notre Dame off the bench. Rounding out the recruiting class, Brey got 3-star center Dom Campbell. In the transfer portal, Brey acquired steady point guard Marcus Hammond from Niagara. Also, despite losing Wesley and Atkinson, the Fighting Irish returned 3 of their top 5 scorers from last year. Another thing I like about Notre Dame is this is a pretty veteran team, and in the age of the super senior, that is an underrated attribute to have. Their starting 5 will most likely be JJ Starling, Trey Wirtz, and Marcus Hammond when he returns fully from injury, Cormac Ryan, Dane Goodwin, and Nate Laszewski. Starling has already been great for the Fighting Irish and is turning into a real star. Laszewski's been a great scoring forward for Notre Dame too. Both Laszewski and Goodwin stretch the court well. Hammond gives the team added stability. The bench is a bit short but solid. Lubin has already been contributing and Campbell has gotten limited minutes off the bench. I expect Hammond to take Wirtz's starting spot soon, which means Wirtz will be the 6th man for this team. The frontcourt depth is solid, but Notre Dame does not have great wing depth, and this could cause problems for them in the future. I like this team, they're pretty good, but they don't have the depth or star power to break into Tier 1. That said, I expect a very solid season for the Fighting Irish, and one that just gets them into the NCAA tournament, which means they'll be 12-8 and 6th in the ACC. 5th in the ACC, and 2nd best in Tier 2 is Virginia Tech. Head coach Mike Young has quietly been a great coach, and he's extremely underrated. The loss of star player Kevin Aluma is going to hurt the Hokies, especially on the defensive side of the ball, and this might be a worse defensive team than last year. But on offense, Young did more than enough in the recruiting window and transfer portal to replace Aluma. Young recruited high 4-star combo guard Rodney Rice, who should make an immediate impact off the bench as a scoring spark plug. Young also got high 3-star center Patrick Wessler and high 3-star combo guards MJ Collins and Darren Buchanan. In the transfer portal, they got center Malijal Poteet from Rice, center Grant Bazile from Wright State, and small forward John Camden from Memphis. Right now, Virginia Tech is one of the hottest teams in the country and ranked 24th with a 9-1 record, and they probably should be higher in the AP poll. The starting 5 so far has been Sean Padula, Hunter Couture, Darius Maddox, Justin Mutz, and Grant Bazile. Bazile is an underrated transfer from Wright State, and he showed off a lot of potential and can competently hold down the center for the Hokies. Padula and Maddox will be upgrades over the departed Storm Murphy and Naheem Mullane, especially on the offensive side, and I especially expect Maddox to have a really strong season. The starting 5 should be one of the best shooting teams in the country from beyond the arc, and that's in part to Hunter Couture, who returns again and is a great shooter. Couture is a quality 3-and-D player for the program and fits seamlessly into the starting 5. The glue guy and potential star for this team is Justin Mutz. Mutz is good at everything on the floor. He's a good scorer, assister, rebounder, and though he might not excel at anything, he doesn't have a weakness. Mutz is also an electric dunker. This starting 5 meshes together really well, especially on offense, as there are 5 scorers on the floor and good court spacing. Defense is a slight concern, but on offense I think they'll be better than last year, even without Aluma, and their offense should propel them to greater regular season heights. The bench is a bit shallow but talented. Poteet, Rice, Collins Jr., and Kidd should all get minutes off the bench. This Hokies team might be one of the teams that I'm most excited to watch this year, but they still do not have the defense to break into Tier 1, and that is why they'll be 13-7 and 5th in the ACC. The best team in Tier 2, talented and the 4th best team in the ACC is Miami. The Canes are a fun team to watch play basketball. Unlike their football team, which is slow and anemic, head coach Jim Larrañaga has Miami playing fast and in transition, and the team takes and makes lots of threes. While the lineup is on the smaller side, this fits Larrañaga's play style, as the Canes are a well-conditioned team. Last year, Miami made a surprising run to the Elite 8. Larrañaga has brought back a similarly talented team, and they've played well so far, going 9-1, and they are ranked 25th in the AP poll. Miami did lose 2 of its top 3 scorers from last year, but after a bidding war, they gained back key shooting guard Isaiah Wong, and Larrañaga hit the transfer portal hard, getting point guard Nigel Pack from Kansas State and power forward Norchard Omier from Arkansas State. The starting 5 so far has been Nigel Pack, Isaiah Wong, Jordan Miller, Norchard Omier, and Luga Poplar. This is a really strong scoring backcourt. Pack is a bucket and a great grab for Larrañaga. Wong is another ISO scorer and is good at creating off the dribble. And Miller is a good scorer as well. The one true concern is when this team is not in transition, who will take over the traditional point guard duties. The 3 backcourt players are all ISO scorers, and none of the 3 are particularly great passers as of right now. It'll be interesting to see if one of Miller, Wong, and Pack take more of a facilitating role, and less of a scoring role, or if Miami finds another way to get open shots. Either way, having too many scorers and too little facilitators is a good problem to have. The front court is not as strong, but still solid, and I do not think Omier will struggle adjusting to ACC basketball. The Canes will run in transition and can just flat out score, which of course is a strength for any team. The losses of Charlie Moore and Cameron McGusty should not affect them too much on the offensive end. The bench is also solid and talented, and is made up of AJ Casey, Christian Watson, Anthony Walker, Bensley Joseph, who's kind of taking over Ruga's popular starting spot. A lot of the potential bench players are talented freshmen from Larenega's recruiting class. Coach Larenega recruited high 4-star power forward AJ Casey, 4-star center Favor Air, high 3-star small forward Christian Watson, and 3-star small forward Danilo Jovanovic. Many of these players should contribute off the bench and can provide a good burst of energy to Larenega's side. What's holding Miami back from Tier 1 is a lack of a true facilitator, height, and defense. I think Miami will struggle to control the boards with their really small team, their tallest player being 6'8", and expect a step back on the defensive side for the Canes with the losses of Moore and McGusty, which you can argue were their two best defensive players last year. That said, the scoring potential is tantalizing, and I expect a very good season for Miami. I expect Miami to finish 14-6 and 4th in the ACC, and at the top of Tier 2, talented, but that's my ACC Tier 2, talented, but rankings and team breakdowns. Hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know in the comments some video ideas to make during the rest of the college basketball season. Follow the TikTok, the CBB Report. Subscribe, like, and comment with your thoughts. Where was I right? Where do you think I went wrong? Let me know down below, and thank you for watching.